Right, this is going to be the newest episode of Snake and Banter. Well, technically, as long as you're watching it when it was released. If you watch it in the future, I can't guarantee that. But that doesn't make me a liar. I did in good faith try to say when it was the newest one. I can only experience time linearly as I experience it myself now. I understand Einstein and others would say time is a fixed object that already exists in all of, like, essentially there is no time. Space exists continually and we humans just experience it linearly through. But I'm not here to argue with Einstein. I'm here to talk some straight fire about CS. So our guest for this one is YouKnow, which sounds like the beginning of a skit or an SNL segment, but actually is his alias. And actually, even though you don't know him, you will know when I say, because he was the coach of 3D Max as they had this rise the last couple of years, and obviously particularly most of this year, he was recently replaced. You're looking for another coaching position hopefully soon?
Hope.
Yeah. Okay, all I'll say is this. French CS was supposed to be dead outside of Apex and Zebu, so I think he did a pretty good job. But maybe we'll get into that in the episode. Maybe we'll even spring a topic on him about 3D Max. Let's just see. We obviously will now that I've said it, haven't I? But we'll just wait till we get to that point. So, as everyone knows, the new format is we always just go with what we think might be the spiciest topic. So I think actually, your ugly point is appropriate for that. So what is ugly at the moment in CS, mate?
For me, the ugliest thing is about the liquid situation. Going back to NA actually. To be fair, I mean they can do this. The rules allow it, and you can go back in NA and every time before the major spot. And obviously, when you go to the major, about the financially stuff and things like this, you have to be in the major. But what is the problem for me is the system. I mean, you cannot do that. You cannot. It doesn't make sense to allow teams like Liquid doing replacement, going back in their region, and to be sure to be in the major spot. So I mean, for me, it's about integrity. And I think it was the GM of an A team. I think it was Mashburn or something like this, who speak about it, say they have less chance to go to the major. And I think
right.
You cannot do that. I mean, of course they can. The rules allow it, but Valve have to do something, because one month before the major the major come, you cannot go back in the region. Be sure to be in the major and take place of other teams that have been grinding for a lot of time. I mean, yeah.
By the way, you said it at the beginning of your point, but you also think beyond just like whether Valve should change it. You also think even if this loophole was there, like Liquid to have integrity, they probably shouldn't have also exploited it, right? Even though they could.
Yeah. Obviously, I think it's about integrity. It's about stuff like this. But of course, I know what is it. I was in a little team. 3D Max is a little organ. Being in the major is really important.
Sure.
And I think for Liquid, they're struggling a lot, so they need this. Actually, they need. And I mean, yeah, you understand what I mean. You cannot. It's not fair for teams, and obviously for little teams. And NA is a bit dead. I can say, if I can say that. The NA teams, and taking some outsider spot to be sure to be at the major, it's unfair for me, actually. So yeah, but they can do this, actually. They can do. So the rules allow you to do this. So of course, if you are an org, you have to do this. But it's about other stuff, yeah.
The problem is he's got a slight delay, so he's waiting for you to stop talking around. So go on, man.
It doesn't feel right, and that's what's not sitting well with people. That a team can just swap to a different VRS region, a weaker VRS region, when their season's not going as they had planned, or maybe they didn't even plan well enough at all. Because if they had planned well, they probably would have attended more of the tier 2, tier 3 lands, the local land circuit that has emerged in Europe due to the way you can acquire VRS points. So this feels like a really cheap fix for a Liquid team that is pretty undeserving of actually making it to the major. I would say that the players and everything are maybe if you give them time, they're actually going to be capable of, honestly, if I look on paper, is this team better than a lot of the teams in North America? My gut reaction is yeah. I mean, when you got a Legion, Af, and Malbs, I think that's probably one of the best NA trios you have on a team right now. So I'm not opposed in that sense, but it does leave a poor taste in my mouth to just say that, oh yeah, anybody should be able to do this, because at that point, why not just have a couple of you could just make swaps like this. You could have you should really just be designing rosters now that have this sort of potential at any point in time you can. I would say that whether that's having two Americas players, you could have a Brazilian, you could have an up-and-coming Argentinian player, you could have an American player, Canadian player, and then just get two of those with three Europeans, and then when the time comes and you acquire enough points, say, sorry guys, we're just going to pick up one more person from that region. Or you could do the same thing with anybody from the Asia region. I feel like it probably would be even easier to find a loophole there. So yeah, it's not great. I will say that the best thing I read about this and a fix that I feel like should be implemented is something that Yumi, the commentator, wrote on Twitter. I think he was actually in my Twitch chat when he wrote his draft of this, and then he wrote the tweet out also and posted it there, finalizing how he wanted to put it. But that a team that swaps regions mid-cycle should see some sort of percentage hit to their VRS points, and that if you are going to make a region swap, it has to happen at the start of the season. I would just say it should probably have some sort of window, maybe the first month that you need, because sometimes roster moves take their time, but this feels like an easy way to get around a Valve system where it's gotten too hands off in a way. They are, the system has actually served the majority of its purpose that we get. I'd say, 90% of the teams that are at the major, I'd say, yeah, I'd say they deserved it. They earned it in a lot of the ways. Some towards the tail end though, and ones that find loopholes like this, I would say less so are deserving of making it to the major. So it would be nice to see them examine this case and then make necessary adjustments so that people couldn't continuously exploit this loophole.
Look, do you want to say something,
I think Mauisnake speak about this, but I think it's about if you choose to be in the strongest region, how about European, you cannot go back in the easier path to go to the major. For me, it's like you make a choice to be in Europe. You have to be in Europe, and if you go back, yeah, you have to be punished. I mean, losing point on VRS makes sense, or something like this. Like you cannot do you cannot go back in NA for free. I think it doesn't make sense, and I think makes sense.
I will just say, first of all, I do think the letter of the law should be changed. I think what they should do, as suggested, is Valve should just have some sort of a fix where you guys all suggested different things you could do. Like one thing, look, the harsh version, which I don't think you should do because then it would ruin transfers, unfortunately. The harsh version would be at the beginning of each season, you have to declare what region you're in, and you have to stick with it for that season, for that major cycle, essentially. The problem with that is I also think that goes too far the other way and then makes it so that you would get teams that weren't trying to cheat the system. Like the joke would be, what if a team was an Oceanic team but wanted to make a player change to be a European team? We wouldn't be against that because there wouldn't be a perception that you're like sliming the system or that you're cheating someone out of a spot. It's harder to get there from Europe. So I wouldn't want to deny that, but I agree with what says. When you're doing it this way, where you're going from the main region backwards to an easier one, and let's be real, even though you can make very good arguments why actually the roster move also works for Liquid's CS team, like maybe it'll help Elise, etc. That's what people have implied about how Malbs will play for him. I'm sorry, that's really not the real reason you're doing this. Like the real reason you've done this is you fucked up your season so badly that at this point in time, I mean, if people don't know, even when they've gone and attended these small lands, this is what people still get wrong about VRS. They hear you just go to small VRS lands and get all these wins. What they don't know is it's a massive gamble because if you ever lose those games, it super punishes you for VRS. So essentially, I agree with Maui also. Liquid just completely fucked up their scheduling. Like what they did at the tier 1 events wasn't good enough. And then when they went to try and do the like, oh, we're going to be like Paravision and go to the smaller, they fucked those up too. And at the end of it all, magically, we're supposed to believe they woke up and thought, So totally separate to all that, I'd love to be an NA team and have Malbs in. Like, fuck off. You didn't, at the end, you just realised that was your decision because it can potentially get your team millions of dollars. That's why you did it, and you can be at the major and you can be relevant again, etc. Whereas actually at this point you were in massive trouble. Now here's the problem I have with this, right? I said that I just want Valve to change it, so there's no problem. But I also agree with YouKnow, and here's why specifically. Because in this case, I'm actually going to use the specific fact it's Team Liquid, right? There's a saying in English which is like, following the letter of the law or the spirit of the law. And the point is, you can sometimes do like really unfair ways of prosecuting someone, but that's not what the law was intended for. That law might have been intended to protect people or to punish bad people. You're not supposed to use things ideally to fuck with people for reasons other than that. Here's what's funny. When a citizen gets fucked over by the letter of the law, they always say that argument like, hey, it shouldn't be like this. This is unfair. Well, in this particular case, right, why is Liquid doing the opposite? They're going, well, technically I'm allowed to do it. It's like, yeah, but as I said to YouKnow, the question really is, should you do it? Because I would say this, if you look at Team Liquid, the esports organisation outside of Counter-Strike, they would tell you things like, we might be the biggest esports org in the world and we're the number one and we lead the industry, and then set a fucking example. This is slimy as fuck. I would expect this behavior. By the way, this is the sort of thing, this is in the wheelhouse of what we all made fun of drillers for, and only Pixelway was like cynically gaming the roster system to try and get in the major and get a stick. Didn't we all bang on his head and go, what a dickhead, wow, way to ruin the major, who the fuck you? Team Liquid's doing this. Team Liquid, like a team that's won the fucking international, had one of the top league ones. They obviously had a fucking Grand Slam. And it's just shameful behaviour to do this at the end. Even though I get why you did it for the millions of dollars and you want the business side to make sense. I do think on some level that at a minimum, one of your punishments should be that we all do this. Just go, what a bitch you are. Fucking sort it out. Be a leader. If you want to be an actual industry leader, show it then. Show the behaviour that is appropriate for our industry. Because I also agree, right? Here's the other reason this is whack. It's not literally, but it just feels bad. Because one of the premises I think Valve designed the regions for is they wanted it to be that if you were in a smaller region, you're competing against the teams in that region to make the major, right? Here's where it's actually unfair that Liquid does this. Because even though I get that in the modern day, someone like Liquid who has the facilities in Utrecht in the Netherlands probably doesn't really live in America very much anyway. But the theory of the regions, if you're not Team Liquid, is if you're an NA team, you also lived in NA during the season. You went to some European tournaments, but aside from that, you're scrimming the NA teams. So that means the teams you compete against for the major spot get to practice you and get to get a sense of how good you are. Also, you've got the whole angle, if people have missed it, that if you think about it, what was the other thing? Wait there a second. I had another angle on this. Oh yeah, that's it. Because you now have last moment almost changed regions, now there's a team, we're all telling these teams like Messi also, learn the VRS system, plan it, schedule the lands you go to. Well, how can the team that's going to miss out because of Team Liquid do that? They could never anticipate. They've probably attended the right lands, and they've looked at the qualifiers and looked, okay, we can attend this small land, maybe we go to like a frag tournament, we go to this other land. Well, at the last minute, Team Liquid's just going to walk in and go, actually, we take that spot. So you're like, how's they supposed to plan? So I'm sorry, I know that Valve doesn't want small teams to get punished and only be the big esports orgs. But in this particular case, you've basically opened a loophole that only a giant esports org can abuse. There's no tiny team going to do this. Like I gave a joke example before that an Oceania team might change like 3 players and become European. Not really. I'm just saying it's possible. It's very unlikely that would ever happen, and they'd have the money to make it happen. And so realistically, my problem with this as well is it only works also because Team Liquid has the money to just spend on shit like, right, we'll go to a bunch of extra small VRS lands because we fucked that up. Let's get a player from G2 and let's fucking change region. Like, well, it'd be nice to be able to do that for everyone else, but they can't, can they? Like, there's only probably like 5-6 orgs could do that in the world and make such a move. So I am against that. I do think it's bad. And I also agree. The ways Valve could fix it, the more reasonable compromises would be like, I think you got 2 ways you do it. You either make a cut-off, like maybe you say you have the first month in the new season where you can fuck around like this, but after that you got to declare. So you still have time to, figure out what you're doing. Or, actually, I agree with you guys. Just make a punishment. Like, if this is about VRS, then make it costly. Make it so you can switch regions. But if you go, and I would make it specifically like YouKnow implied, just make it specifically from Europe to a different region. Because I don't think anyone else is going to abuse this. No one's going to switch from Oceania to Americas. It's very unlikely some American team gets 3 Oceania. So if it's really only people gaming the system, then here's what you do. I don't know what the number would be, but figure out an amount. 200 VRS points. If you swap region to a small region, you get 200 VRS points off or something like that. Something that makes it more like you still have to like win a LAN or you have to battle the other team. Something to make it feel more fair. And in general, I would just try and outlaw this, get rid of it. I agree it's an ugly point though, because the problem is it isn't just purely bad. Because if I'm Team Liquid and I'm just thinking on a like my team and the budget and the fact we want to be in the major, for them it's good. They want to do this move. But I do agree. I think it's not only bad in some sense, but it's just an ugly look for CS. Like I'd be ashamed to explain to someone from another game what the fuck was going on here if they were from like League of Legends, and this would look really whack to them, I think. Is that it?
I could go.
Yeah, go on. Go to your point.
Yeah. I could go to my ugly point. I mean, the reason it's ugly is that it doesn't look good right now, but obviously there are already devices in place that should mitigate this for the
100
future.
thieves. No, okay, right.
If they qualify.
Okay.
No, it's just that the last event that took place, ESL Pro League, which I would say used to be, it definitely was a staple in the calendar. I feel like people looked forward to it. Sometimes the viewership hit lows. Sometimes the grand finals weren't always compelling to people, but it was kind of in a way a cash cow of just hours watched because of how long it took and everything. But the product that was out there this time was just kind of, I mean, I think that people spoke with their eyeballs on this. I'm not going to even make a subjective judgment on the product that was out there, but in an objective sense, this EPL viewership was down. It was horrendous. It was really, really bad. It was horrendous viewership. If you look across the actual like top channels for them, the highest peak viewership channel was unsurprisingly the ESL Pro League Twitch channel, and during the event it only peaked at 70,000 viewers. 70,000 viewers for a tournament that had really every single top team except for Vitality and Falcons. Like that's, to me, that's absurd. And I know that now some of the viewership is spread out over a lot of channels, and that it's a little bit harder sometimes to really check these things. So I went to ES Charts and I looked at the data on this and I compared it to something where this was an event 5 years ago that nobody cared about. Like, I mean, and I'm talking about the Blast Spring Showdown in 2021. I just randomly typed one. I just because I know that's a tournament that people at the time objectively just no one really. It meant nothing in the calendar. The stats from it, I don't even think they factor into like an HLTV top 20 because it's just an online qualifier. It's an online qualifier to get to what was at the time the Blast Spring Final, which in itself is an event that held prestige, but the Showdown itself did not. And you would look at it, and the funny thing is the peak viewership on the main Twitch, on the main Blast channel at that time was over double at 150,000 what ESL Pro League had across their channels for the entire season. That's how bad it performed this time. Like that, and that's just, and even if you look at what just happened, so there's been 2 days so far of the current Blast Rotterdam event, Blast Open Rotterdam event, and it already is practically tied it in peak viewership for the individual channel, and it's the second day of the group stage. So I just found that this was, I was just kind of surprised. I mean, it was just something where as I was watching it, I was an official co-streamer for it. I was kind of wondering, man, what's going on with the viewership? But I just think I'd be curious from your guys' perspective, but I think I have my own take about it, is that in a good way, and this is why it's an ugly point and not just bad, actually, is that I think the audience is actually nicely smartened up. They realize that, you can't really
they don't get mad at the
bad
and the Henry G and stuff like that, you mean?
Or wait, I'm sorry. For some reason my volume went to 0. What?
Okay,
Sorry.
well, I mean, basically the problem in all past EPL seasons is if like Henry or someone made a joke, people were like getting mad at them not being professional. Is that what you're implying? Like that they get that it's like a more fun vibe? Is that the premise?
Oh, no. My premise is just that because this individual tournament had 2 online Swiss stages, I think a lot of fans, because I would ask my own Twitch chat when I'm co-streaming it, why are so few people tuning into this? But then people just had the response of just like, I can't be asked.
Right. So they just got that because it's online. They just checked out a bit. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's primarily what it is. And it's just kind of an ugly point. And it's obviously one that also, the light at the end of the tunnel is the next pro league is all on LAN. Pretty much every event now is just all LAN portions. Even, Blast is going to that for the bounty for 2027 and stuff. So I think TOs get the message there, but I just found that it to be pretty ugly that you look at all of the numbers, and there's pretty much no way to spin it as being good for this event. Like, even the Blast Spring, again, I'm looking at the Blast Spring Showdown for 2021, an event, again, like very low stakes at this event. Like, it's just a qualifier. If you look at the hours watched over, like, across the airtime, it matched ESL Pro League. And today, like, the ESL Pro League tournaments, they give so many rights to so many co-streamers. So you wouldn't even say it's because the numbers are more diluted. The numbers are, even though the numbers are more diluted, the total watch hours are practically the exact same for a Blast Showdown that has no LAN component. It was all online. And if you say hours watched to airtime, it's like 1-to-1 with this season of ESL Pro League.
What do you think, YouKnow?
Yeah, I have to be fair. For me, the EPL, first of all, it's a really long tournament. I remember when I was coaching, it was 2 weeks, two Swiss stage before you go in the playoff. It was a long one, even though it was in a studio. But I remember always when we go in EPL, when I was in 3D Max, we were like always saying, okay, guys, we have to be prepared because it will be a long tournament. So first of all, I think EPL is really, really long. 2 Swiss format, it's a bit like you watch the major, but it's not a major, actually. So first of all, and yeah, the thing is, it was online, so I think there is not a lot of people interested about online games because it's not interesting. You're watching someone playing, everybody's in their room, and it's not fun. There is not fun part about seeing the game like this, and if I'm not wrong, there is like a little stage for the player, but it was not an arena. Like, because I think, if I'm not wrong, in the next EPL, the playoff will be playing in Katowice, if I'm good. So I think there is not like something people can like show interest about the EPL. It was just a random tier 1 event where people playing at home, and when you watch the playoff, it's in little arena, not a lot of people, not a lot of interest to watch, and yeah. And at the end, it's not like, if I have to be fair, myself, I didn't watch a lot of EPL games. So I mean, if me as a professional coach, if I'm not showing interest about FPL, I think random people cannot show interest as well.
Yes. I mean, I will just say, like Maui says, at this point in time, everyone just kind of knows. It's like, I saw that I did a tweet about online CS where I just said it is just worse and everyone knows it. Like, I noticed a lot of people vibed with that tweet, bro. That was actually a very popular tweet. And I had loads of, I can't say who secret likes, but loads of industry people like that, loads of players, etc. Like, essentially, even the little teams, here's the joke, because VRS is good and it gets you into the tournaments as long as you get higher and up. Even the small teams don't want online play if they don't have to. They want to go to a real LAN and actually show that they're real proper LAN teams and it's not just bullshit online CCT play, because I do think the only time in history that online play ever mattered is either Blast Showdowns like Mauisnake because they qualified you to the LAN and sometimes real teams they didn't have a partner spot went through it, or it was when we had COVID and everyone just at home and everything had to be online. That's about and half of that was like us all just convincing ourselves like this is real, this we're gonna remember this. Like the joke now is we've all deleted it, haven't we? Like that doesn't even fucking matter, except apparently in ZWU GOAT discussions when all those MVPs are totally real, but whatever. Is what it is. Is what it is, homie. All I'm saying is,
I'll never forget that big clan run.
All I'm saying is my goats do it on LAN. They don't get online player of the year. They're just LAN player of the year. That's just how it is, mate. So what I will say is this. I definitely agree with Maui's framing, right? The reason this is so shocking, even though it's been a gradual decline, is if you go back in time, when they made ESL Pro League, I can tell you ESL, I forget if they ever did it publicly, but I know privately, they used to describe Pro League as their flagship product. As in, they didn't even call like Cologne or kind of, as in their logic was, this is like our main product that we run, the seasons of during the year, and then the other ones are, big one-off events, etc. So that meant essentially this is the thing that they were using to sort of showcase, here's who we are ESL. And if you remember, they even used to do group stages in like different regions, then they'd come for the big LAN finals. At the LAN finals, by the way, the final would always be like a pretty good venue, even if it was like a 5,000 seater, it'd be like popping atmosphere, pretty cool. And I'll give people some, what I'll do is I'll do my esports historian thing to remind you how epic epic old pro leagues were. So the first proper season when they rebranded was in the beginning of the tank top era of Cloud9. It was that one where the Cloud9 team played the Fnatic team when they were in like their era, and it was an epic final. It was one where Shroud dropped 100 kills, if anyone remembers. Then you had, I'm just picking a few here. In season 3, that was in 2016. That was the one, if you ever, you know, should remember this. That was the one where you had G2, but it was the French one with Shox and Scream, played against Luminosity, who was obviously the major winners. And it was the one where Shox had like an unbelievable final, but they sadly lost in like 5 games. The one where he did all those amazing plays on the 5th Inferno, if everyone remembers that, like it's sick 1v4. It was a mega final. Like, again, this is one of the most epic matches ever. Then I'll give you a couple more. Season 8 was the one at the end of 2018 where Astralis won the Grand Slam, the first ever Intel Grand Slam. It was in like, I think it was even in like Danish soil. And then the last one I'll pick is season 10 was the one where Mouse with Carrigan and Rops and Baby Frozen, that's when he was at the apex of that little run they made at the end of 2019, and he won fucking Pro League, beat Astralis in the semis, and I think it was Fnatic or someone they played in the final. That was it. All of these lands I just mentioned, by the way, I don't even need to say it's Pro League. When I mention the match, a lot of you that were fans are going to remember the match. These are some of the greatest games ever played. Also, you'll notice, back then, it even had an extra prestige. These were the only tournaments they used to have a BO5 final. That was actually a unique thing about Pro League. People will forget back then. All of these matches were BO5s. So actually, back then, Pro League was a big deal. Look, it wasn't Katowice and Cologne, it wasn't the major. But after that, it would be right there with any other tournament in the scene. It was a really important tournament. Now, here's the obvious angle. Before we even get to the modern day, go back a couple of years and everyone made fun. It wasn't online, but it had no fucking crowd. Remember, it used to just be in Malta, and it used to have the tiny studio, and it's why everyone even forgets that in 2014. Mouse used to win this tournament because everyone used to go, lol, yeah, because there's no stage, you're a fucking group switch studio merchant. That was the joke back then, remember? Like, already it had become a laughing stock. Everyone was sort of like, who cares about that? Even though, by the way, they were beating like Vitality with Z. They were beating the best teams in the world. It didn't matter because no crowd. So even though now they fixed that a little bit, they've got like a little theatre set up. It had a decent one. The problem now is the online part makes it a joke. It's like I was saying to people, actually the teams that suffer the most because the stages were online were all the upset teams. Like if I'm Legacy, Astralis, Foot, this isn't the same as if I'd done that at a LAN stage. I'd get so much, like, especially someone like Legacy. Everyone thought they were shit about a month ago. So they got all these crazy upsets in Pro League. But then when you look and go, was that just online? Who cares? Yeah, I'm sorry, that's just true. None of us really care. So I do think, unfortunately, the viewership's appropriate, mate. Like, the viewers aren't idiots. They haven't been tricked into thinking this was LAN, and if you just don't mention it, they'll be, oh my God, this is like a kind of... It isn't. Everyone knows this doesn't really mean that much. And I'm sorry, it does feel like even those upsets I mentioned didn't send crazy ripples through the scene. Maybe teams getting eliminated early does, because that always does, but I don't think... I haven't seen almost no one hype Legacy, by the way. And by the way, they were not already in the playoffs. They won a map off Aurora, went to the final, but you'd never know they even played this tournament. I saw no hype whatsoever. And I think even a PGL people hype when an underdog makes the playoffs, and you think they're going to make a run. So I do think it was a bomber. And I do think, look, apparently they're going to go to like a better final set for the future. We're going to have the LAN. They're doing that thing, by the way, guys, I pointed out on the other one. Blast and ESL are doing that thing where it's like, even though I made the thing worse, now I'm going to make it what it used to be. And then you act like, I've just invented LANs and group stages. It's like, well, yeah, those are good, but, you know, we used to have those anyway. Like, all right, cool. Well, thanks for bringing them back. I'll give you that. Thanks for bringing them back. That's also why it's appropriate Maui put it in Ogden, I think. Not bad. Because I do think, aside from that, I still want the tournament to exist. I also like the idea loads of teams can play in it. That's also quite unique. Think about some of these last 8 teams play. I wonder if there'd be tournaments that loads of people can play in and you get a chance to qualify for. But I agree, especially the viewership part, that is really fucking ugly, mate. Because as I say, I'm pretty sure this used to be one of the bigger tournaments back in the day. It was a pretty cool competition. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what that means though, Maui, is even though people could have listened to you using Raycon earbud, fuck all people were, but they're listening now though, mate, so tell them about it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's no secret. We've been sponsored by Raycon on Last Free Nation shows for some time. And if you want to get a pair of your own, which I've got right here in front of me, used them on the airplane on the flight here, you could go to buyraycon.com/snakeopen. They do also, though, have the Essential Open earbuds, which are great when you're just kind of out and about. You want to hear a bit of what's going on outside. I'd just say it brings the open back sort of headphone experience. In fact, the headphones I am using right now are open back, but if you want them to be earbuds, you can get those with Raycon, and you can get them for 20% off. So why not listen to people like myself, Thorin, occasionally Kassad, occasionally, maybe less frequently, but no, it's okay, but also be able to interact with what's going on around you. So yeah, check out what Raycon's got over there. I'd say again, my favorite thing about them above all else is just when I'm on planes or when I'm moving around, sometimes I don't have time to charge everything or just make sure that everything's in order. So I just stuff them in the case and they charge. I think for every 1 minute they're in the case, it's like 6 minutes back on battery. So even if I left them out on the table or something like that, things can get a little messy. Stuff them back in for just a few minutes and boom, I'm already ready to go for practically an hour. So get your own at buyraycon.com/snakeopen to get 20% off.
Right, for my ugly point, as usual, I've been really careful with how I framed this one because I'm going to talk about the reload ammo issue that just got changed in the update, right? And in theory for you guys, pick whatever part, you can just give your thoughts on that if you want. But the part I think is specifically ugly, put it this way, I'll put my cards on the table. I just think it's bad. But I can't yet know because it has to be implemented. I have to see how pro players use it and if there's like a way to use it, a way to get around it. I have to see how it plays out in practice, basically, not just theoretically. So the major issue I have with this reload thing is actually just, and this is why it's ugly, this is the problem I have, right? I'll tell you a really weird problem I have with Valve, is Valve didn't make Counter-Strike, in case people are aware. It was made by Gooseman and another guy as well, who just did the sound of that. And then, yes, years later, Valve updated the game, and obviously they made variants like Counter, they made CSGO and CS2, but I've always thought of Valve as more like the sort of custodians of CS as opposed to its creator. Like, as in, the creator's the guy where the idea came from him, he understands the concept. The custodian to me is more like the guy where you take care of it, you'd maintain it, you keep it going, and by the way, I think part of that is keeping it fairly similar. You can make certain tweaks, you can have new maps, and you can have a new gun, etc. But you want the core of the game to be Counter-Strike. You want that to, isn't that one of the things people always say about Counter-Strike as an esport? You could be a guy who literally only played or watched Counter-Strike in 2004, and if you open a game now where we're playing Inferno or Dust 2, yeah, you're going to take a little bit of time to figure out some of the particular, but you're going to have a very quick like integration to be like, oh yeah, I'm back in CS, okay, cool, like they're hitting short here or they're hitting the banana on B. You're going to immediately get the concept, right? This has the potential to be the biggest change in the history of Counter-Strike, because think about what it does to the AWP and pistols when you want to break a vent, etc. So the part I want to say is ugly though is I don't know why it's necessary that we're even having this discussion. Like, what's weird is I'm not, normally people go, that meme format on Twitter where you go, no one, and then no one says something, and then something happens. Bro, this might be a change I've never heard a single human ever involved with Counter-Strike ask for. Like, I've never even seen someone sit down and go, things people think are positive, like, there's too much spamming, you shouldn't be able to, like, reload your gun without losing. I've never even, like, I don't even know where this idea came from. This is like some shit like a Valve dev went away into a cave, did ayahuasca, experienced 17-dimensional entities that exist outside of time, like Thorin's intro, who told him, don't worry, you were supposed to be here for an important mission to remove reloading from Well, who asked for this? Even if it ends up being good, why is this happening? Like, I feel like I'm in some Valorant shit where I wake up and they're like, now there's a character that teleports. I'm like, okay. But in Valorant, I know that's what the fucking game's about. This is CS. This is like when we all make fun of games. Back in the day, people would sarcastically be like, oh, you should add a rocket launcher. Please don't say it. I'm so scared Valve will hear you. That might be next year's operation. I'm Operation fucking Blast Off or something. Operation Bazooka. I'm so scared they'll actually do that now. So for me, it's just ugly that, like, I don't know why this exists or why we're doing this. Like, you guys can say about that. You can say something about the change if you want. What do you think about any of this? What do you think, mate?
Actually, about the update, it was weird for me. I don't know why. It makes no sense for me. It's like something useless, and players, not only professional players but every players, have to adapt to something new, and something can be like make you mad for nothing, or I don't know. It's like it's like useless stuff or nothing that we don't care actually. And I don't know. I think for me it was just weird and out of nowhere.
Right, Maui, I did see on Twitter you actually had a positive take. So where are you going on this one, mate? What do you think of it? Or what do you think of the framing you pick?
Well, first, I'll acknowledge the whole ayahuasca trip, which may or may not have happened. I mean, I think they've just been playing other TAC FPS games or something.
Okay.
They're just getting inspiration from there's other games that have just magazines where you
that's
lose
true.
your whole... But I'll also say that I loved the take actually online where people almost further the theory craft where they say, well, if you then lose all your ammo, shouldn't you actually still reserve that magazine that you just reloaded?
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, you shoot down to 12 bullets and you want to reload. Shouldn't you still at least hold on to the magazine that has 12
like as if it's
bullets?
in your backpack or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you pull it out later, and then because I think that could lead to some actually pretty fun, intense moments in a round. If you maybe even take away from all guns one magazine, but allow people to cycle their magazines if they reload them in the future, because I think then you'll have these cool tense moments where someone reloads on a bomb site and then they have that last magazine and oh no, it's something they spammed earlier in the round. It has only 8 bullets from earlier and then they get the last 2 kills with it. That would add so much extra tension and like it would just add stakes to the moment, as opposed to right now where I do have a positive take on this. I guess my overall take for it is that one of my least favorite aspects of the game is watching a well-constructed T-side nuke outside yard take. You throw down 3 separate smokes, and then some dude with 0 consequences just spams you through it. I actually, in the beginning of CS2, before teams adapted a
like
little
when
bit
someone's
more,
under window and they just spray when you go into secret or something like that, you mean?
Yeah, they do that, or even from big garage at the beginning, they'll just shoot off a bunch of shots because they have a kind of a lineup against the side of the garage wall. There's all these little moments like that, and I would say that it did feel a little too inconsequential for that play for the CT spammer, but it was almost like the risk to reward was just pure reward. There was no risk at all because you're gonna spam anywhere from 10 to all 30 of your bullets, and generally speaking, no one's going to really challenge you. It's not going to play any factor into the round later at all. So I like that there's at least some sort of punishment for that. But I think in a weird way, I kind of feel like Valve might be doing it with some less than, I'd say kind of poor intentions is the way I'd put it. Because in 2026, actually, if you use like a LAN or like a top 30 filter, Nuke is, or if actually, sorry, top 20 filter. Nuke is the most CT-sided map, and I think Valve has this weird theory as if like maps just need to be balanced right now.
But they want it to be like 50-50 win rate is the idea, right?
It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
But because I don't know why the CTs needed to get nerfed, but I'm a fan of that singular aspect that. Yes, I disliked certain interactions, but I didn't hate all of them. I just think on certain maps it felt a little needless. But then I think of, in legitimate gunfights, I don't really have a reason that I want this to happen. It's almost a purely smoke spam related update for me that I thought nerfing smoke spams was kind of good, and this is a weird way that doesn't kind of break all the realism.
Also, obviously, I have that whole rant I could have gone on about the AWP because the AWP's the most mistreated gun in the game, and someone needs to stand up for the AWPers out there. I know in every problem there's only one in every team, so there's always four out of 5 people agree, fuck AWPers. Yeah, I get it, including all the Valve devs apparently. So I won't do that though. I did that on other shows. I've done that on Twitter endlessly, as is my style ad infinitum. So what I'll do instead is this. Speaking of breaking stuff for no reason and totally random out of nowhere, I thought I had to show you this, which is over on Polymarket. In their prop section, there is actually for real a market that says, are you ready? Whereabouts is it? Wait there 1 second. It's a Blast one, so where was it? There we go. For Blast Open Rotterdam, the tournament we're watching now, the market is, will a player break not even the mouse, will they break something during a game? So obviously this question was submitted by Fred Durst. Shout out anyone who knows that reference. So what's going on? So, and also, along with it being the actual market, it's got a 13% chance. I don't even know why it has any chance, Brooke. It has it, apparently, according to the traders on Polymarket, there's a 13% chance someone during this LAN, a player, will just break something during the game, right? What do you think of it? Listen, you've been behind it. Do people break stuff often? Do they break headsets? Do they rage? What do you think? Was it going to happen? What would you say?
I think it's impossible to break something now on LAN. I think you cannot do nothing about it. So 13% of chance is so much. What the fuck?
Oh, do you get in trouble if you break something? Do you think you get fined or punished or something?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
You've been punished. I remember
Right.
we have something in EPL actually. We broke a PC and we pay for this.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So you better to
And what? Go on, you got to tell us the story of that. Why is someone on some like 70s rock star like throwing a TV out the fucking window? Why is someone breaking a PC? What did they do? They smashed it or something?
It was a mistake actually. We were about to setting up before a game, and I remember we used to ask for coffee before a game. We put the coffee on the desk, and I think the player was about to putting the cables on the PC and something like this, and the coffee just threw up and go down
into the PC. Oh my god!
Yeah, and it was on the PC, so the PC just go off, and it cut everything. I remember it was a game next to us live, and it cut everything. It was like 101.
Oh, it wasn't even your PC; it was someone else's.
Yeah, so it cuts everything.
Holy
we
fuck!
shut down the PC and cut the electricity for everybody.
Fucking
so
hell.
Nobody got nothing, and yeah, actually we've been punished for this. Yeah.
Right, I didn't expect that, Maui, but he's given us a literal like rulebook-based reason it shouldn't happen.
Yes, there is.
Do you think it will happen, Maui? Will so? Listen, it's obviously a random ass question, isn't it? But dead ass, what do you think, Maui? Will someone break something in this?
Well, I feel like in the time that I've been working events, I've worked probably 50 or so events, and the only time that I remember someone breaking anything was Nico's 1v huge clutch attempt.
Yeah, the blast one.
Where he pounded the table off of just it was a frustrating moment. It was going to be the play of the year, if not the decade. So I don't think we're going to see that. I think the likelihood should be lower here because 1 out of 50 for me, and I don't think that this is going to be the one.
And I'll even give you my own analytical bullshit reason, because who can analyse any of this? Right? Actually, the joke is give us the best reason, which is if you get fined, people probably won't do it. But I'll give you like an analytical reason it won't happen. Because I think the player most likely to do something like this in the modern day actually is Donk. But the difference is, he has to, as you've seen all the interviews, pretend like Magix is totally fine and there's no issue, is there? Because that's his pal. If Chopper was still here, there would be a 30% chance Donk might just like lose the fucking quarters after dropping like 50 kills on a map and then just throw a fucking PC across the room at someone. But actually, I think now he's going to have to feign civility and be like, no, I'm fine with this. Yeah, Magix, we're just going to keep working towards getting good. Like, fuck, he's just locked in and it's too late now. And also, spoiler, I'm just going to say this, Donk. It does just look when you make these excuses like you just asked for that move, that's why you don't want to fucking criticize. I'm just saying, mate, we're just all trying to figure it out. We're not in Telegram, we don't speak Russian, we have to just play fucking telephone and come through translation, and then we have to just look at you as a short anime riddled fucking Russian player and figure out what you're thinking in your brain, mate. I have had enough time figuring out what Maui's thinking in my mind. Fucking you. Anyway, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. Now we will return to the show. So now let's go to the good. So what is good right now? What you liking?
What I like, I was thinking about, I speak about Liquid, but something good for me, it's about NertZ going back in under So and going back with also Sunpius, because he was playing with Sunpius. I think it's something good for him. He go back to another system, a system where he can be good, he can shine, he can come back actually, because I think the time in Liquid was the worst time in his career. But I think NertZ is someone with a lot of talent. He can bring a lot to G2. He can be the player that they need actually, because they need someone like him. If you take NertZ, you put him in the best performance, the best guy he can be. He can be the guys in your system that can shine and bring everybody. And I mean, you can expect a lot about NertZ, and I think it's a good move for G2 because actually, like I said, he was working with So before. He was working in this system. So I think he can come in G2 with a lot of confidence, and if everything is clear for him, like about roles, about freedom, what he can do, what he cannot do, I think he can be good. And actually, I expect a lot about G2 now with NertZ, and I think it's a good move actually. And losing Mabs also is a good move because I think he was struggling a lot since Nico and Monizy leave.
Yes.
He was supposed to take the place of those guys, but actually he can't. He cannot. He's not that good that he was supposed to be, and I think he lost a lot of confidence. And when you feel someone losing confidence, you need a fresh start. And I think Liquid can be this start. I don't know if it's the best team to be and to have a fresh start, but maybe he can bring something different. But yeah, actually, I think it's a good move for both sides, and then if
Okay.
we put away the thing
Yeah.
about VRS.
Also, don't worry, we'll ignore the Freudian slip when you're like, if you're losing confidence, you need a fresh start. Sorry. Oh,
Yeah, what?
don't worry, it's all good. It's all good. Okay, Maui, what do you think?
I mean, I feel like, unfortunately, Malbs just wasn't holding up his end of the bargain, despite the fact that he showed a lot of promise when he first joined G2. As soon as he had to become the man, he simply couldn't fill the shoes that Nico had left. And that's obviously extremely difficult, but you unfortunately started to it just also I just didn't feel like I saw any progress, because it's one thing at the beginning to not be able to do it, but after, I'd say, what is it, a year and 3 months or something since Nico had left? I think he left at the end of what was it, 2024? So
Yes.
yeah, about that much time when Malbs had to take over some of those positions. Yeah, the transition to tier 1, it can be rough, but if you already had proven, what's really curious and weird to me about it is that, Malbs had already proven he could be a serious asset on a team, but then, and you think that usually when you get the call up to get better positions, and that's usually a good thing. That's usually gonna set you up so that you can take more fights on your own terms. But in reality, what we found out is that Malbs is an incredibly sharp entry player when he's just sent on a mission, and but once you give him some autonomy and allow him or force him to be a decision maker, then he doesn't really stack up to all of the other space takers that are on elite teams. And when G2's trying to be an elite team, then I'm liking that they went with this. I think that, yes, we went over the ugly point for Liquid, so I won't touch on that, but this is also actually a big benefit to a G2 team that really was missing their number one. That you can't win a game with Heavy God being the carry. Like, it doesn't make it just like. No. It's almost kind of like when Rops was towards his tail end of Mouseport. Like, he'll put up numbers, but it affects the game so little when you're just getting kills on the extremity as the rest of the round has already gone up in flames. So I like that they have a guy now that is going to be probably a bit more reliable, that is going to have the comfort with Sunpius and Saw. And I just feel like now it's a G2 where I'm not expecting them to be a top 5 or elite team, but at least I'd say they'd be elite, swinging for playoffs of every tournament. Like, they're going to be a kind of a fringe playoff contender every single time for me now.
Yeah.
Right, I usually do try, because I do so many different shows and podcasts and the same topics come up, I do try usually to like split points between shows and not repeat them all on every show. But another problem I had was I had a bunch of points I've already used on some shows, and I was saving a couple to do my own video, but I would be the last person in the world to get a video at this point in time. Like, I just didn't get ahead of it, and everyone else has done this. So I'll burn a couple of extra points I haven't done elsewhere. So one is, I actually think this is one of those rare moves, a bit like the Elise Twist swap, where actually both parties might have gained what they wanted from this. Not only does Liquid get the Americas spot, but there's actually quite a subtle point that I saw that Nero in an article pointed out, but I agreed, it's the first thing I thought when I saw this move, is there's another reason to want Malbs beyond he's just an NA player, which is if you look how Malbs played for Nico and then recently for Matisse in G2, basically both times he was the hard entry and then Nico or Matisse was like the playmaker guy coming behind him, benefiting. Now here's the problem, Nico's one of the best ever to do that role, that's why it looked awesome. The Matisse guy actually has had his own issues doing that role. So I've got to say, here's my prediction. Some of these are just me speculating from the outside as an analyst. I actually think that what they will now do in G2, because NertZ isn't that guy either, is in G2, Matisse will become the entry guy that Malbs was, and it will actually be NertZ playing off him. And I think that will work way better for NertZ, because the issue was, even though Elige did do that role in Col and FaZe, I don't think that's his best role. I think he's best at the playmakers. I think you had two players in NertZ and Elige who should be doing the same role, so they didn't work that well together, in my opinion. In fact, if you look when they played in Liquid, Steeko did a good video on this. They had so many miscommunication issues, even those two players. Like, because remember, Elige, as we found out from FaZe, doesn't want to just be the guy. It's like everyone does their own thing. He wants like to structure and to know where people are going to be and what he should do. So I think for them, the role didn't work, and I also think the structure didn't work. So I think instead, if you bring Malbs in, Malbs is a worse player than NertZ, but because he's going to play this one set role, if you're Liquid, this is actually, in my opinion, a gamble that Elige is better now, that you actually empower him to be the player he could be and was on past teams. So I think that works for them. Then on the NertZ side, as I said, I think he needs a Malps type player. So I think Matisse will now do that. By the way, that's more the role he did in Fnatic when I was watching them. I think that will help NertZ too. Then also, everyone knows this one, NertZ has played with Saw in the 2 teams he was awesome in, ENCE and Heroic. When he didn't play with Saw, that's when he looked crap and it didn't really work and he was just like a way worse player. So I think this is actually a slam dunk move for everyone across the board. And I also do think, even though it's a bit cynical on the Malps one, it's actually almost like a good thing for him. Like, we're not going to tell you be Nico. You can't, and it's not his role, clearly. Just do what you used to do for Nico and let Elige try to be Nico, essentially. That's in that scenario, I won't blame Malps for that. I'll look at how Elige does. That's the person I expect to have the level up if your team Liquid. So, and then lastly, the reason why I say I think NertZ also needs to be in that playmaker role, I think Matisse will do it, because I was thinking to myself on the past teams where NertZ was really good, and I immediately thought the following. Everyone who's watched those teams will know. So in NC had Madden, and then in Heroic he had Tessus. Bro, these are like some of the best like workmen. I'll just go in and you follow me and get the kills. You can't put Elige like that, because even when Elige swings first, he's swinging to get 2 kills and taking his shot. He's not the guy who just runs on it. It's like, just literally, I'm the bait. You just fucking follow after me and get the easy kills. So I also just think this works better for everyone, actually. I could see both teams actually being better as a result of it. I do agree, though. The G2 one is the win. Like, for them, this is awesome. I actually think this is the piece that could take them to being like a real top 5 or 6 team instead of just being like, we can occasionally do it and we're kind of fluky. So I actually like the move generally. I agree it's a good one. I think it's good across the board. The only downside is what we said on the ugly. It's just fucked up the optics of like a big giant orc going, hey, can we get back in the kiddie pool now? Like, fucking hell, no. That's whack. So okay.
Yeah, but like you said, I think it's bring more balance for each team. Like role-wise for everybody, it's a win-win, and I think that's where it's the best. And you speak about Matthias, and I'm 100% sure that if you take the role of Malps on the T side, actually, being the space takers, being the crazy guy, if I can say like this, if you can do this role, I think, and with NertZ behind him, you can be sure it will work. And I think it's way more like it make more sense now that it was before with Matisse and Malps in that role, I think. So I think it's a win-win, and it's make balance for each team, and it would be interesting to see.
Okay, Maui, what is your good point?
I mean, I feel like it goes without saying that the team that won the last tournament should at least receive some praise, but I've really come to like this Navi. I rate them really highly, and I would save this for a hot take show, but I'm just gonna get it out now. I mean, Navi is my take for the strongest contender to take down Vitality at the major. I feel like this, and I'll get into all of the reasons because I have a handful now. For one, they just have the best coach in the game. I'm never gonna count out Blade. I'm never gonna count out a Blade game plan structured for a particular opponent. And I feel like if Navi actually find a Vitality in the quarters or semis, there's way more of a possibility that they're able to actually pick them apart meticulously, to actually recognize their weaknesses and try to execute a plan that is tailor-made, just like they did to Furia at Budapest. Now, even more so because they have a team that's gaining experience, because now they have another reason is because they have a legitimate star player. I mean, Makaze has actually... Makaze is a more mechanically gifted player than JL. I think JL did some things for them for sure during his 2024 that were extremely impressive, especially in big moments. But hey, lo and behold, Makaze is a big game player. That's what's also crazy. You look at the playoff numbers that this guy has had so far, and it's funny. I mean, I've been going back and forth in the green room with Pimp on this one, but like, I'm taking Makaze every single day over Kyosuke. That's not true. Not every single day.
At the moment.
I wouldn't take him in. I wouldn't take him. I wouldn't take him in an opening group stage day.
Okay.
I think Kyosuke will farm any like opening group stage person probably harder than Makaze will. But in playoffs, Makaze has shown that he does not falter. That this guy, I mean, at the Cologne playoffs, he was great. At the Budapest playoffs, he was great. At the ESL Pro League playoffs, he's been great. Like, this guy doesn't slip up when there's pressure, even in arenas. And that's something that You know, we see an exertion that is still, after 2 years or 3 years of playing in arenas, he still has problems with pressure. He still has problems finding his groove. But Makaze has already shown me multiple instances against the best teams in the world of being able to be the best player in the server as a rifler, an aggressive rifler, and being able to just crush them. And he plays within himself, within a game plan, and he also has a really good knack for, even if he starts a map badly, he recovers. That's an also extremely rare trait, because also for young players, you just expect them that this isn't going to be a Makaze map. Then it's like, wait, he's starting to gain up. He's starting to gain. Like when he played against, I think it was opening game versus Bait in this group stage, there was a point in the game where I think he was something like 8-14 or something like that. By the end of it, he's the top fragger. You know, he's top fragging the entire server, and they win. You know, or they didn't win actually, but he ended up just top fragging it and ended up with over 100 ADR. So he can play himself back into games even as an aggressive rifler. He does. So I have a lot of faith in him. And another thing that also gives me a lot of faith in this team is that, simply put, they don't have a choking problem. I feel like we've seen every other team. We've seen NAVI at Budapest and Molodoy. We've seen Falcons and all of the catastrophic losses that they have. We've seen Maus, and I don't even want to get started on them because I'm beating a dead horse when I talk about Maus now. But all of those teams are notably chokers. NAVI are proven winners. They're proven winners that everybody on the supporting cast is proven. Makaze has now shown in playoffs he is unflustered. He's not flustered by those moments. And even though I'm still obviously taken Vitality in every series, always, till proven otherwise, I would say that their biggest threat is a Navi team that's gaining steam.
Come on, what do you think,
Yeah, I think what I like in Navi right now is about Makazi, and in Mau we speak about a lot of Makazi. I think last year it was good for me, like really good, even more in when he was playing on stage. I think it was the guys where he show he can be the stars of the NAVI roster and he can bring a lot. And it seems like during the break and in the beginning of this season, he worked a lot on his weakness, and it seems like he's more good. He gained much more confidence, and every tournament is better and better and better. And he brings Navi where Navi should be, actually. And I think it's a good one. He was the MVP of the Pro League, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And I think it's a well-deserved, actually, even though there is no Vitality, and obviously you want to fight Vitality to think like you are the best, but it was well-deserved because this guy is improving so much and he's giving so much on the server. He's playing some difficult roles. He's the space taker. He's do a lot of stuff that not a lot of stars do in the game, I would say, and he takes his responsibility and he's doing good. And it seems like in his head, he's never give up, even though he's not good on the scoreboard or even though he's not on the good game. He always bring in the table what he can bring, and he always find a way to win. So yeah, I think it was a good one. It was nice to see Navi play like this. Last year there is some up and downs. It was, I don't know. It was sometimes there were like some, for me, I remember because I played 3 times or 4 times Navi, it was like they struggle to find the map pool they want to play. They change a lot of their picks. I think they think a lot about what they want to do. And this year it seems like they work on it. They're sure about what they do. I mean, for now. And when you know what you do, it's better, and to of course to work and to be gone on the server and to work on your system and stuff like this. So yeah, I think Navi play really good, and even more on stage. And yeah, they are good, and I'm agree with you. I think they can be the contender for Vitality for sure, because tactically it's always difficult to play Navi, and they can beat this team. They can be difficult to play. Then if they can respond to the Vitality and dualities, if they shoot good, actually, they can beat this team, of course, for sure.
Yeah, on the Makaze angle, for me, the key thing is like the development you've seen every few months from him. Because here's what's funny. If people remember when he first came into the roster, first of all, actually replacing JL, even though it's not directly role for role, is a massive set of shoes to fill. You could argue there was times when JL was the best player in Navi and he was the person who won you a lot of playoff games. Like, actually, I think everyone thought this is going to be a downgrade overall, and Navi just has to like get something more out of a different player. The idea this guy then became the star is crazy. It just shows how crazy Blade's system is, because here's what's funny. Normally, I would look at, because the numbers at this tournament were way higher, I would normally go, it's just a one-off, isn't it? And, they played lesser opposition in the playoffs. The reason why it's not as simple as that is because there actually is a track record, if you think about the NAVI roster since it went international, that it is true, that thing Blade said, that it takes months for them to get their system implemented with a new roster. Normally when people say that in interviews, it's bullshit to buy themselves time because they're a coach. If you look, because they've got this super tactical system, everyone knows they have that dossier fucking pages for every map. It's not as simple as you just do this and go in first now follow up. There's clearly a lot of stuff in there. But if you look at all the players in the international roster, they all took time to get good. JL himself, by the way, when he first joined NAVI, was just an okay player. Wonderful when he first joined. No one ever thought he'd ever stay when Simple could come back. The joke is, by the time they won the major, actually Blade was looking at it I can stick with this guy. Actually, I don't even need you, Simple. You don't get to come back. Emma, when he joined, actually got mega flamed. Remember, everyone wanted him cut after the major. By the time he got to the second season that year, 2024, he was one of their better players. That's why I think it's happened with every single player in this squad. They've all taken time to adapt to the system. So I could actually believe, look, I think these numbers are unrealistic because these would be prime Nico numbers. But all I need is something between this and what he did before, and I've already got a star player. And since, as you guys say, Navi isn't the team, they are a super tactical team. So as a result, they're not the team that one guy carries. I don't need an actual super carry donk Ziwu guy. I just need someone to give me some fragging. And also, his role is the super aggressive role that makes mad impact in the game. You already saw flashes of that last year. This was the complete package. This was mega. If you took the nameplate off, people would just think this was a star in Counter-Strike. Looked really, really good. And even, I'll go on the Navi angle since you guys brought it up. So on the angle of can they contend with Vitality? Here's why that's actually an underrated angle. Because right now, what Navi can benefit from, I agree with Maui, they don't choke and they tend to play their game. And if you beat them, you beat them. But they don't just play shit like Mouse does against someone or just flop completely like Aurora does. Here's the reason why they have a chance. Because one, I actually think playing real tactical Counter-Strike gives you a better chance against Vitality because they play so correctly. It's actually the most underrated thing about Vitality. People talk like they're just a super team fragging everyone's heads off. No, they clearly put mad amounts of effort into utility and studying the opponent. So I think to counter that, you actually have to be able to do some of these things like them. And then also, if you look at the rest of the top five, it's a complete mess. If you look at the rest of the top five, no one knows if Spirit's actually good. Falcons can get eliminated in the group stage. One tournament, Paravision is good. The next, they're total bombs and lose to anyone. Mouse is on a fucking downturn. Right now, actually, I agree. Even though I don't think, here's why it is a weak top five. I don't think this Navi roster is one of the best teams to ever play Counter-Strike. But I know what you mean. If I had a gun to my head and I had to pick a team that tomorrow plays Vitality, who has the best chance, this wouldn't be a bad shout at all. I think they would have a pretty legit chance. Also, lastly, here's another very positive thing for Makase. It's not just that he had this one tournament where it was awesome. If you look this year, the only category he isn't having good numbers is against top five teams, which admittedly he didn't play here, right? Well, here's the thing about that. That's totally logical in the progression of a player. I'll just point out to people, this guy, if he hadn't been picked up by Navi, you'd still know who he was, because he'd be playing on foot. He'd just be every now and then making a playoff and getting some upsets, and you'd think he's good, but you wouldn't think he was some mega. So if you consider the position he's in, actually, that sounds to me like you're going up the ladder of competition. Now you can play against everyone, including the top 10. You just can't yet play against maybe Vitality or Falcons. That's the last step to complete. That's logical that it'll take a while to get there. And if you're the aggressive rifler, by the way, yeah, you're going to have to get really good at all the nuances of the game to play the fucking best team in the world. And then lastly, normally I would also criticise, like I say, the fact that he didn't play the hardest teams in the playoffs. You know why I won't criticise that? You know that, but top five I just mentioned, they don't fucking beat all the bad teams when they play them. Spirit just lost to fucking Astralis. Mouse lost to Foot. Those teams don't just beat who's in front of them. Oh yeah, Navi only played bad teams, in part, by the way, because the rest of the top five fucking fell apart. But when they played all those teams, they, like professionals, took care of every squad and were never close to getting fucking upset. They did a really good job. So even though I won't go super far, I agree. I think it's a good point. I think Navi and Makase both looking up. And as usual, I pointed this out a million times, Mavi, but I'll do it for the millionth time. At the beginning, when old man boomer fucking Blade, who's from my era, was like, what is this Instagram thing? I guess I'll put myself winning a trophy. That was whack when he had one trophy. It's now become one of the most gangster in-jokes ever. That he has about fucking 15 photos now of all the trophies he's won. Even though, don't worry, he is still a boomer. Instead of at the event where there's all professional photographers, by the way, all the hosts and fucking interviewers know this, you could just go and ask them, can you take a sick photo of me, this trophy? He doesn't do that. He does it like a boomer on holiday with his wife. He just asks someone to take his phone. And in the recent picture, if you look at it on his Instagram, all the lighting's all fucked up. It's slightly blurry. I love it. I fucking love the boomer call whenever Blade's involved, bro. Because he is the professor of CS. We all know that. He should just get some little fucking, get those half glasses, you know, the bifocals. If he wore those on a little chain, it would just make the fucking look. And lastly, I'll say this. I've always told people this. I have a weird relationship with Blade where for some reason he just likes me. Maybe because I'm old school like him and I've known him a long time. He does this weird thing that I've always told you, Maui. Even though I know him, I can't tell if he doesn't fully get everything I'm saying in English or he's just based as fuck. Because you know what I tweeted out the second they won? Like, this is fool's gold this win. They didn't even play anyone good. He just liked the tweet. Like, I can't tell if he's mind gaming me or if he himself is so legit. He's like, he is right. You know, even though we won, it's not the major, is it? So either way, you win, Blade. You just win in all regards, mate. I don't know what the rest of us are just playing checkers and you are playing chess, mate. You win again. You win again, pal. Yeah, I'll even finally throw in one last thing as well. I'll tell you another area NAVI improved. Bro, they almost actually beat fucking Aurora on Anubis. That was nuts. Like, they looked way better on that map. Like, he'd actually studied the demos or something. Like, they had like early attacks on CT. I was never expecting NAVI to be any good on that map.
Well, they beat him at it at Cluj. They already had beaten him at it earlier this season. I feel like also, geez, what was the point? Oh, I was just kind of theory crafting today. I mean, like, legitimately, when you go head to head with a lot of the players that are on NAVI versus Vitality, they don't match up that badly. I feel like people also might even forget the fact that in a series with Vitality at the Budapest Major, Wonderful was the best player in the server. Like that legitimately happened recently. And yes, Wonderful's form has been wavering. You know, it's pretty hard to always find consistency from him. But when they played in the Swiss stage in the 2-1 game, Wonderful had the highest rating in that game. He was pulling off crazy moments where he was getting multi-frags, bringing them back in rounds. Like, he can play up to that level. It's just kind of odd that you don't always get the consistency, but I'm so glad and thankful that even though he had some moments against Foot where he dropped the ball really, really hard, especially I remember a Dust 2 post plant where he just whiffed a guy that was retaking in kind of a pretty straightforward fashion, and he was so frustrated, but the very next day, he bounced back and was just the best player bar none in the grand finals. I mean, he actually gave Makaze a run for his money because Makaze was clearly the the event MVP favorite leading up to it, and Wonderful put such a great grand final performance on. I felt like there was even a case to say, well, maybe in some world Wonderful does deserve this one. So everybody can step up, but also like, no, I mean, even working through the matchup in my head, like, who is another extremity kind of anchor player that could match up with Rops? It's a very short list, and it's probably, to me, just Bit. I mean, if I really think of like the stature of so many of these of the individuals out there that go 1-for-1 in those kinds of spots, he's right there. I really think that in kind of like a space taking sense, yeah, FlameZ's on a tear this year. Don't get me wrong, but Makaze is also just red hot. They're both if they clash right now, it's going to be such a good matchup. So there's just a lot of stuff that I look forward to if this actually were to play out, but. At the end of the day, I will remind everybody, yes, I think they're the best team to contest with Vitality now, but Vitality still, they're just gods. They're just gods among men.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. I think also what's cool about Makaze is he has also been like the X factor of the team. And even though Blade's old, you know what? He's still got a few years left in him, lads. It's not going to be until he's about 50 that he has to take time off and retire. And when he does retire back to that retirement home for Counter-Strike, breakfast will be included. Now, speaking of factors that have 50% off and give you free breakfast, why not check out Factor Meals? Because did you know that when you go to factormeals.com/snake50off and use code snake50off, you get 50% off and free breakfast for a year? Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renew subscription purchases. So why choose Factor? Well, if you don't know, first of all, that even though the meal looks like a classic microwave meal, first of all, they never freeze it, so it doesn't have that problem where like you're changing the state all the time and it messes with the food and makes the lasagna all weird and all drippy and some of it doesn't go. They just chill the food when they send it out to you and then you heat it up. Secondly, unlike a microwave meal, they use high quality ingredients. They have loads of choices. Like they actually have it all tailored based on also diet. So if you want to do like GLP-1, shout out to the Americans, as usual with their abominations. You can do like keto if you're doing some sort of like low carb. If you want protein because you're working out with the muscles and all that, you can do it all. That's the point. So it's easy to manage. They've got loads and loads of different types of foods. They have seafood, all sorts of things, beans, meat, all types of lovely meat and different world cuisines also. You can try Asian food. You can try all sorts. I'm not talking to you, Team Liquid. You can stop trying all the regions, mate. Stick with your own. So anyway, then you obviously have all the things, like I say, you have the breakfast. And it's also really easy to make, isn't it? If you're a gamer, it just takes a couple of minutes, you pop it in, ding, it's done, and you're eating, and you're done. So thank you, Two Factor Meals. And go to factormeals.com/snake50off. You heard me say it all earlier. Okay, now we will go and we will talk about one last section. Oh, wait, actually, I haven't done my point. I have to do my good point. My good point, I thought, was an easy one for this one. There's a few different angles I could have gone with, but I decided I'm just going to make it a player point. Bro, one of the gamble moves, I think, of this year that people don't give credit to is that Astralis let Device go to 100 Thieves. By the way, at that point, one of the only reasons to give a fuck about Astralis is they got Device still pro as one of the best players ever. And their replacement, if you're coming in to replace Device, you better be like some fucking mega. But they bought phzy, the old wildcard player, and I think that was underwhelming for a lot of people because a lot of people probably didn't watch him play, or they maybe even worse, they actually remember when he replaced Device in NIP like 5 years ago now or something, when he was way younger. Bro, this tournament phzy just had here, he looked good anyway in Australia when he joined. This was mega. Yeah, like unironically, think about if I'd have said 2 months ago, around the time of this move, you know, we have all these discussions on every bloody talk show, right? Who should they replace Brokey with? Who should they replace Ultimate with? What if you were to replace Torgy? If you'd have ever said phzy, you'd have been laughed out the building. Everyone would go, who the fuck's that? What's some like tier 2 player? He actually, unironically, is already better than Brokey, probably better than Ultimate. I don't know about Torgy because he plays a specific team, but he's actually already in the mix of, like, I have to give this guy credit. He looks like one of the better AWPers we have in European Counter-Strike. Also, he's fit the Huxley system awesome, and that's as a result, even outside of this playoff run, they've been getting upsets and they've been playing really good teams really close. So I've got to say, I think he's one of the main reasons why I'm just genuinely impressed and shocked at how well he's adapted to tier 1 and playing. Because I always tell people, I think it's really fucking hard to come in as the AWPer in a tier 1 team and then play like the best teams in the world. I think you can look really silly as the aforementioned people like Ultimate have at times. So even though it's only early days, props to phzy. I think he's done a great job. What do you think, Yumi? YouKnow?
Yeah, I think the Astralis move to take phzy was a really good one, actually, because I remember was watching him playing in the wildcard, and I think he was on loan in 9 for a moment. He was really, really good, was one of the best AWPer in the tier 2 scene, I would say, or in the NA scene, if we speak about wildcard. And I think, yeah, he's really good. He fits really well about Astralis systems and how they work. And he shoots really good, actually. He's really good on a lot of maps. He brings something that's his own style, I would say. But he's fit really good with the team. He's look like he's feel confident and he feel comfortable to play with those guys. And yeah, Astralis is maybe back. I don't know if I say back, we will think about Astralis era, of course. But I mean, Astralis was not that good with the Danish team, and some players coming back and being great. I think even Stairs really good right now, yeah, on the server, and you feel like they are more a team, I would say. And yeah, I think they can be a great contender for being on playoff or being this weird team. You know, when you play Astralis, you say, oh, fuck, we play Astralis, these guys are weird with their own style and stuff like this. So yeah, I think it's great move, and I love phzy, to be honest, yeah.
phzy is just great. I mean, you're kind of wondering, Thorin, whether he's better than TorzY right now. I have I keep up my preliminary top 20 list of the year thus far. I have him higher. I have phzy higher than TorzY this year so far. The performance he had at Pro League, I mean, he was excellent versus Spirit. I mean, he's been excellent in a lot of their big series versus top teams. I love that he calls his own number all the time. I mean, the amount of times I see this guy, and yeah, this is supported by teammates sometimes, but you know, the amount of times he gets a pick because somebody nades a smoke or they give him a boost. The fact that he takes opening picks, he's hard to predict where he's going to go next in the mid round. Also, like he can be fairly mobile too. Constantly just making sure that he imposes the op. It's something that you don't always see enough operas do, that they just, I mean, he seeks action. He seeks action, and when the action is around him but not in a perfect situation, he helps devise a way to change what's around him, whether that is the boost or the nade call, to get some action, and that's something that I really appreciate in an opera, where he's vocal. You could sometimes hear in the comms for HooXi on Astralis games that it seems like he wants people to calm down, like things are getting a little crazy and stuff like that. But I kind of like that there's a fire with that team now, whereas before, yeah, like, I mean, in the comparison to Device was just going through the motions. I felt like there was nothing really new or fresh with his game for some time. Like, he'll hit the super easy shots as he always did, but never really blew you away, barely ever took over a game. Multiple incidents already where phzy has just taken over games, like where he just calls for it as soon as he gets the op in his hand, he keeps it in his hand, he gets 2 kills, gets 3 kills on a pivotal one. Like, I would say, like, maybe if I have to nitpick, like, I'm not in love. I don't think his rifle is super sick or something, like, where these super elite oppers like Monacy have, like, or Zywoo have this, like, rifle in their back pocket that they could always kind of rely on. So maybe at times, I guess I wish he was a little bit stronger there, but I don't think it's anywhere near bad. So I think he might just be a little bit more dependent on the weapon. But I don't think I can't really argue with the fact that he absolutely bodied Spirit. He's looked in many series versus other teams that are around the top 15, just the best player in the server, and he's kind of like competing oftentimes with Stare to do that, but sometimes he outshines him. So I'm a super big phzy fan, and on top of it, like, on the narrative side, actually, I think it's extremely admirable that this guy had such a ridiculous journey of basically just nose to the grindstone, recognized that there were limited opportunities in Europe, that he went to not one but 2 teams that were out of the continent in first of all, like, a rare atom team. Like, what the hell is that? Like, playing for a team in China just to farm a scene that, like, that's crazy. That's just crazy to me. Respect. Like, I never, I for this line of work, moved to Europe briefly and stuff, I really respect people that are willing to just, up and move their lives just to pursue it. But I don't know if I got offered a spot in China.
Think of the risk he's taken there. If he'd have sucked on rare atom, he probably never plays in the top team ever again in his career. That's a massive
career's
gamble.
Over.
Yeah,
career is completely over if he does that. Yeah, yes. So. I mean, it's extremely impressive what he did, and then also even the wild card situation where he was on the roster, where he got cut because somebody at wild card management used ChatGPT, and then he goes to 9. He starts actually doing well with 9. Like, he's starting to like 9 was rising in the ranks when he joined that team, but then wild card called him back. And then he has to play with them again, and yet, like, at no point in his career do I ever feel like he is complaining. Like, he was public about what happened with wildcard. He was public about it. But, like, with all of the teams back to back, on the back and forth and everything like that, there's really never a dip in form. There's really, like, and there was ever, and he was just he was one of the best tier 1.5 operas, but it was almost hard to tell because of all the crazy situations happening around him. And I would even say you put like 90% of even the operas that are in the top 20 in his shoes in these situations, a lot of them crumble. I think the mentality on this guy is something that I would not stop respecting, even if he starts to taper off a bit in performance, because it's still just a totally admirable journey.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, in case anyone's wondering, Maui is actually at Blast right now. That's why he has, like, the webcam, and he has to use a laptop. That's why his head's massive. He looks like Zordon from the Power Rangers. But to be fair, if he's Zordon, that's even applicable, because I would obviously be the White Ranger, wouldn't I? Tommy, the fucking badass fucking guy. And if you say I blow, I do. The flute. That's such a fucking that's about a 30-year-old reference, I know, but I don't give a fuck, mate. Look it up, Google it. Even though sadly, even saying Google it's actually a reference from 10 years ago too. Anyway, the point is, exactly. That might know. Anyway, now let's go to the bad section. So, what is bad right now?
Bad right now. So my point is about FaZe. So yeah, obviously about FaZe. What confuses me with FaZe is that it's look like there are no plan of what they're gonna do, and I mean it because if bigger changes are coming, why you just remove your coach for this event and you go like this. For me, it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
And I understand that with roster lock and things like this, it's difficult to make.
Yeah.
And I know it, but it doesn't make sense what they do. Like, you wait the window and you do every change you have to do. Because I think obviously there is bigger change than just putting Neo away and taking someone else. So my point is, it feels like they are completely lost. They don't know what they do actually, what they want to do. They probably have a list of people. They do stuff behind the scene, but for now, taking your head coach out, putting your assistant as an interim, doing no change about players because you cannot because of the roster lock, and not communicate like this, it's a bit weird. And it's a bit weird even more with what Kerrigan says, because actually he said it was surprised to see Neo putting away, and he don't know what is gonna happen, who will be the next coach or stuff like this. And yeah, for me it's look like they try to find a solution, because actually and it's clear FaZe didn't work good this year, but it seems like they try to find, but they have nothing now. They have no clear plan of what they want to do, where they want to go, and yeah, I think it's a bit confused. It's a bit confused actually.
It seems like Ash is leaking that he's going to FaZe.
Yeah.
It piques my interest. I don't know if it's enough. I still feel like this team, and what's kind of surprising is there's been little glimpses here, maybe the most recent series that they've played where Jacob actually looks serviceable. In fact, he looks like he can be at times a bit of a game changer. But I just don't think that I can get over what's going on with Brokey. I just don't think a coach, and I will also even add in the fact that a lot of Ash's oppers have been pretty bad. And some of that, I would say, partially is due to maybe scouting. But I also have a feeling like there should have been one of these guys that performed a little bit better by now. And I think that is more by design of maybe Ash's systems, where it's probably a little bit of column A, column B. Column A is maybe the op scouting wasn't good, but column B is that the Ash systems that he's trying to implement for his teams aren't prioritizing the op enough. And so I don't think that Brokey's going to regain form. I think this will buy Brokey a little bit of time, but I would be shocked even if Ash comes in that Brokey regains anything other than becoming if he's like a 1.00 opera. I still don't think that's good enough. I would rather have there's probably a dozen oppers, and even with how opping is harder in CS2, well, then I would rather even just take guys that are more like hybrids, and then I would just rely on them to be better riflers than Brokey too. So there's a lot of reasons I wouldn't even like it moving forward. There's the team is just, but it also brings me to the extremely uncomfortable conversation, which is that Kerrigan as a fragger is almost at the point of inexcusable. Legitimately just putting up horrendous numbers, and like even Major has been putting up some good series from time to time. Like sometimes Major will be the best player for Aurora over like 2 maps. Okay, I never see that with Kerry. That's never happening anymore. There's never the one off or anything like that. It used to be like 1 out of 10 maps. Now it's like 1 out of 80 maps. It'll happen. So that's a bit of a concern for me. And I guess we'll wait and see, because it seems like the way that Kerrigan characterized it in the interview was that now the players should be able to feel safe for a little while, but I don't know if they should. I would have wanted another change, and I already know I would have wanted Brokey out.
Put it this way, just the part that all they've done now is kick Neo. That is a bit whack. That could have been ugly as a point in itself, because it's like, are we just football now? Is that what we do? When the team's bad, you just go, kick the coach. It's like, okay. I mean, by the way, one thing that's underrated about that is sometimes it happens a new coach joins and the team's way better. Sometimes they have to do like that to show a play, but implement a whole system. That might mean you have even more months that you're bad while you're trying to figure out what the new coach wants to do. The one saving grace I will give FaZe is this. One, it's not like they insta-kicked Neo the second they went downhill. They were pretty bad most of last year, and they didn't kick him then. They gave him, like, essentially almost 3 full seasons of a chance to turn it around. So I do think, actually, he had outstayed his welcome. Secondly, he has the obvious problem whenever you talk about him, a bit like Taz, and even, in fact, as an IGL Snacks, which is everyone's remembering what made them legendary, which wasn't that role. Snacks was legendary as one of the best lurkers ever. Taz and Neo were 2 of the best CS players ever. The problem is, it's a different role, but if you judge them on this, people want to, because how good they were at their old role, be like, oh, don't be rude, or don't be disrespectful. It's like, no, you have to almost take the nameplate off. And imagine if this was all Neo had ever done as a coach, wouldn't everyone go, well, his first year was really good, but they sort of dropped off after that, and he couldn't adapt to different players, and then when they made some roster moves, they never got better. I think most people, if it wasn't called Neo, would have said fire this guy last year. I don't think he would have even survived the second season last year. So if anything, I think he had a very fair amount of time in FaZe. And I'll give them one last piece of grace, which is, if it's true they're bringing in Ash, then I don't hate the idea that you wait before you make the roster move. Because if you get an Ash anyway, he is known as a scout, essentially, in the scene, who's done a very good job picking players. So if you're going to change, and at this point we're assuming FaZe is never getting big names, they're probably going to get like a Jacob type name. If you're going to do that, well, outside of the AWP, yeah, the guy who's the best at doing that is Ash. Like, he's done a pretty good job finding, like, the joke would be, if he could do the same thing he did when he found PR and find a PR type player for FaZe, I think everyone would like to watch FaZe play again. So I don't hate that move. It is a bit unfortunate that he might have leaked it on stream that it's happening, though. I can tell you they probably aren't happy about that. It's just he fucking, whatever, absent-mindedly said it, didn't he? Even the AWP thing, by the way, I'll give you one saving grace on that. I do think he did a terrible job getting AWPers into Gamer Legion, but I'll say 2 things. One, Acor has never looked as good outside of the Gamer Legion team, and Acor was a cast-off player already. And then secondly, there is a big difference in the amount of AWPers you can sign and will say yes if your team has FaZe in front of it as opposed to Gamer Legion. So I do think it's going to be an easier job to recruit an AWPer to replace Brokey, because, by the way, the most obvious thing that happens now surely is Ash has worked with young players. You get him to work with Jacob and you replace Brokey. That seems like the obvious next roster move to make, maybe after the major. By the way, I would assume at this point, if you just don't make the major, you do it. You probably just get ahead of everything and go find a tier 2 player and give him a go. You might even argue, by the way, if you bring in Ash now, say you fail to make the major, well then just sign a tier 2 AWPer who isn't in the mix for the major and start working with him now. Get embedded in, and then by the time the second season begins, you already know the system, you've tested him out, etc. I could even see that being a positive. I do agree though, I think in general this is bad, because we're supposed to believe, because there's one move right now, that this is the move that fixes it. It's like, right, Neo's fired, problem solved, guys. It's like, no, as Bowie said, Carrigan's been fucking worse. I mean, his problem obviously is if he doesn't have good players, there's no point having Carrigan. He's there to be the brain, and then they're all supposed to execute it. Brokey's been terrible, and Jacob's still inconsistent and has a hard time being a star. So, and by the way, aside from that, even fucking Twist fell off. So I think right now there's more problems than there's solutions in FaZe right now. Like, most players are an issue. Ash, by the way, normally when you join a big team, that's supposed to be like easier. It's going to be even harder. He's got his work cut out for him. He has to completely fix a squad that actually isn't even that good a spot. And I'll just say lastly the thing I always say on Twitter, because I get mad triggered. You know, when people go, no, but it's okay though, Thorin. FaZe is okay though, because they've separated the companies. All the millions of dollars were coming from it being FaZe Clan with the streamers and like fucking Snoop Dogg and Banks. Just being a brand new, you have to, in that scenario, you understand my analogy. You may as well take off the name FaZe and just say this is like a new organisation. Like, that's not the same. You don't have millions of dollars. You're not going to have giant sponsors. I think essentially FaZe now for me is going to be more like Mouse. You're going to have like a little budget. You've got to be smart with it. You can't just do like Liquid and keep every season buying 3 players. You've got to be really careful what you do here. So Ash is going to have a not as easy a job as people think seeing it's FaZe, but I do think it's a step up and it's a chance to do something. I think it's cool. I'm with you. Right, okay, you know, buckle in and get ready. Let's see how good your poker face is, because now Maui is going to do his bad point. Get ready. Buckle in.
Yeah, I mean,
what's bad?
I brought this up as a point fairly recently, but I felt like we have this opportunity to talk to somebody closer to it. So here it is. I feel like I'm still out on what 3D Max have done. So
is he.
At that point.
So is he technically.
Technically, he is out on it. I mean, what the point? Kind of the. I'll reiterate some of the points because I think I made it. I think I made the points like 2 shows ago, but just because we have this opportunity, I'll bring some of them up again. We have seen a little bit more of them. Okay, you know, we did see 3D Max play at the recent ESL Pro League. I mean, they didn't make it to the playoffs, and already, I mean, some of the teams they played were admittedly fairly difficult, but it's just that they in stage 2 when they needed a win, they lost to Spirit, they lost to Mongols and Navi. And yeah, generally now I would say that I feel like those are teams that they kind of should lose to because they're just of a higher caliber. At times there were moments where 3D Max looked like incredibly capable of taking those down. Like I think an obvious example for a team that maybe has shown a little bit more, but I thought it was possible is that, well, I'll even just bring up at the last Pro League they beat Navi. They beat this very same Navi, so they have in a way regressed already. And also, I think the Mongols team is pretty ripe for the taking as well when they're still figuring things out with Cobra Zera and what was it? Wasn't Mara? Well, actually, it was an online thing, so I don't know what Mara's involvement was for this one. But yeah, no, in general, I do think Masuda is a good pickup. I actually was pretty surprised by how well he played at this one. But no, I'm just gonna be real, and you don't have to comment on this directly or anything like that. I'm never keeping Gravity if I'm not keeping him as the IGL. I'd keep Body, and I'd play Masuda and Body. And especially if Maka is gonna switch to the IGL, then I'm keeping Body, who I thought was the best player on 3D Max, especially when he joined the team. They were kind of hovering around the mid-20s range, in the HLTV rankings. With Body, they were pretty much consistently top 10 to top 14. It was a very narrow range. It felt like they never really were moving too much from there, but it was stability because Body was. He's experienced. He's a good secondary voice. He can be an entry player, and that's kind of what you need. You need guys that are like that can help out as much as he did. And now, I'm just still. It was a project that I liked a lot, and I watched a lot of their games. But now I just didn't quite get how this broke down.
Yeah. Where I can start. First of all, I will speak about Body. Body was the best addition we can make in early 2025. Actually, Joko was not in its best shape, and we have the opportunity to take Body. He was really angry about the situation in Fnatic. It was not really good. It was really difficult for him, and he really want to bounce back. And I think it was what made him come with good things in his hand. He was wondering about bringing experience and bringing something in the server. He wanted to be a good player, to be a carry, to be one of the best in the team. And actually, it was a really good addition. He makes us be better, and we came closer to the top 10, I think, at this moment. Even though we didn't make playoff, I think we make one playoff in the first half of 2025. It was in Cluj, and we lost. We lost 13-0 to FaZe in playoff. It was that time. But it was really good, and Body is a really good player. Actually, his work ethic is really good. I love the way he works. I love the way he thinks, and he was really professional about the team. And yeah, I think if I will say this, he didn't deserve to be kicked in 3D Max. I have to say it. He deserved to be on the team. He really deserved it. It was not the problem. He was the guy who was the most consistent on the server actually, and outside the server, his work ethic was really good. And yeah, it was. I don't know. It was surprising move, but it happens. And yeah, in 3D Max we have a lot of up and downs. I try something when I've been the coach. I've been the coach in the summer. I began the coach before I was the assistant. And when I've been the coach, I think we do 2 tournaments with Maka as a in-game leader. And I was thinking about doing something else. I think like Maka is a really talented player. He's really good mechanically, and at that time I was needed someone to be the carry player on the server. I feel like we have lack of firepower, and Maka can beat this guy if he was not in game leading. And Gravity was the young guy of the project, but he was before in game leader. For him it was the future to be the in game leader. So I put him as in game leader, and we try something like this. And I think it was the best moment of 3D Max. With Gravity as in-game leader, we did 4 playoffs. We won a tournament in China, little tournament, but we won against Tailu Prime. And we did great. I remember you speak about the Pro League. In the Pro League, we won. I think we won NAVI, FaZe, and G2, and we lost against Falcons. And we did a really good comeback on phzy Nuke, and we lost on overtime. It was a really close game, and it was the best, I think, experience I had as a coach. And but the thing is, in 3D Max, there is too much in-game leader. Maka was in-game leading, Body was in-game leading, Gravity was the in-game leader at that time. But everybody, when you win, everything is good. It's always like this. But when you start losing, everybody think how we can fix it. And it was not always about how we can fix it. It was about me. If I was the in-game leader, I will do this, I will do that. And it was not the best atmosphere we create on the team. And because of the lot of travel, because of a lot of things, we lose ourselves, I would say. We lose the way we play. We lose the where we were the best. Even more on the server, we lose the confidence on Inferno. We work a lot of train actually, and we were starting to be really good on train in the major. If you remember, we were good on train. I was like, okay, we find some good things for 2026. And yeah, we get lucky. Train has been removed, so thank you, Valve. But we lost ourselves. It was really good at the end of 2025, and it was really difficult, I would say. And yeah, I don't know. And I have to say, if I have to say something as well, because it's been public now, so I can say it. But during that time in 3D Max, for me, and it's the same for the people now in the team, someone in the org still about $1 million. So when we work in the environment where you lose money, you don't get money, you don't be getting paid because someone steals money in the org. If you put that and you put the different things happen on the server and on the competitive side, obviously you cannot be always that good, and it was really, really, really difficult to play and to be at the best.
Sure.
I'm not saying this as excuses because, all right, we try our best, we give our best to be at the top, but it was really, really difficult to think about the game every time because something happened in the back scene and you have to deal with it as well. And yeah, and it was I think in the guys try to find the fix, so they bring back Wasing, they bring NBK to bring some experience to feel with Bore, I think, and they bring Mizuta, and I know Mizuta was good. He was really good with Gen 1. I wanted him in the team, if I have to be true. I want him to be in the team. I will not kick Body if I was the coach, but I want him in the team, and I don't know, they try to be back, but it's difficult, and they have to deal with a lot of things. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to say on this one, I'm not a fan generally. I'm not even just saying, like, here's the thing. Here's why I'm not just saying that because YouKnow's here. He is here because I rated him as a coach. It's the other way around. That's actually why I invited him on the show, because if you watched this show last year, there were many times actually we praised 3D Max and said, like, it's kind of actually crazy with the roster they have, some of the results they have. In fact, actually, that's one area where even though I think in some sense that they've obviously got better firepower with Pursuit, that was a good addition, I don't think they're actually as good tactically now, mate. There's times where, even though when Maui say, look at some of the teams they lost, they should do. Yeah, but that was the thing about 3D Max. They almost were like counter logic that they would nearly always at every tournament get at least one upset that you didn't expect, actually. The joke is if you go back far enough, they even have beaten fucking Vitality in the past. Like, if you go way back, like this is a team that would always get like one big run. Whereas now I feel like it's more consistent, but now it's more consistent who they're going to win and lose against. And now they're still not making the playoffs, but they don't have the sort of the upside that I was interested in. And actually I did think if I looked at the team last year, because they made all those IGL swaps, but this like the tactical system remained, that can't just be the IGLs. That's got to be something about how they're coached, how you set the system up, how people communicate, the game plan, and also what you were saying there about the map pool. Bro, this is what's brutal. I made the joke earlier. We are football now. Like, we're also just firing people like, right, fire the coach, that'll fix everything. Yeah. Here's what's whack about that. Bro, if you actually look where you took the team to, as you say, if you go and look around the time of the major, before the major, I always used to say when I did my betting, this is the easiest team in the world to know when to bet on them as an underdog. What you do is, I love the veto. You go in the veto and you ask yourself the following question. Can they get 2 of these 3 maps? Inferno, Nuke, and Dust 2. Dust 2, by the way, not even that great. They're just French. And for whatever reason, it's like fucking Pokemon. That's just their home aura effect is being on Dust 2. But especially Inferno and Nuke, you're a Mega on, right?
Yeah.
Normally, I used to be really cynical. If you can't get that veto, if you can only get 1 of those maps, fuck, no chance. If you can get all 3, I'm all in. And if you can get 2 out of the 3, I might do like an underdog bet if it's really big. But then here's what was crazy. At the end, around the time of the major, both Train and Ancient became winnable pros. Like you actually expanded the map pool. You weren't just like a sort of one-trick type team that had to get this. It was actually looking way better. And I totally agree with both of you. The most confusing part is, one, I don't get personally why you do the coach change. I thought the coach looked like one of the better parts of the teams. Secondly, the guy they're bringing back, what, just because you know him from ages ago? And then the NBK one. I know MBK. I've known him for a long time. I used to consider him a friend back in the day. Is this motherfucker just going to take everyone's job first time with no effort whatsoever? Again, just because you were sick at lurking on very games, homie, doesn't mean you get to be a broadcaster and have Maui's job. Doesn't mean you get to be an IGL and take fucking Alex's job. And doesn't mean you get to come and take fucking YouKnow's job. What are we doing right now? Like, yeah, you were, not only were you a legendary player, you stopped playing 5 seconds ago, bro. You haven't even been on another team, earned your spot. So I don't know why this is going to fix things all of a sudden. The fact that NBK is there and the fact they got this coach. There's the other thing. They've already had this coach. I mean, one thing if it's a new coach, you want something new. Why is going back in time going to fix this? And then lastly, the reason why I think it's brutal is not only did you have the chance to improve the map pool, it was starting to get good in English, we'd say it was percolating, but even worse, if you think about the roster move, you guys have nailed it. If I could go back in time now, you just keep Body and you had Masuta. Now the team would actually have some pretty legit firepower. I think that team could be a playoff team in the current top 10. Like that could be a team in 18 playoffs. That team could be 8th and get in. And as you've seen, even because the problem also at this tournament is this. So I'll give you props. You beat Furia. Oh, great job. Yeah, true. When Molodai's playing like shit. But then you also did lose a best of 3 to Pain, who wasn't fucking good. The difference before was 3D Max used to get the upset and then beat every team below them as well. That was another thing about that squad. So I agree. I think this is just a bad state of affairs. And also, whatever, we'll also have a mourn in it and bloody firing coaches. Except if you need you deserve to be fired. So
the one round, I feel like also that was really great, and I would want to know. I mean, I think it is my most memorable 3D Max moment from the last year was actually at Pro League 22 in the 2-2 game versus G2 on G2. Dust 2. There was a timeout that G2 called, and then you guys just did this crazy B exec. This one that was just like flashing through the window twice. It was like the jump throw that flashes, it hits the little wood thing and like bounces off and it lands like right above car. And then like I noted it beat them so badly. It was a huge pivotal round. It was Saw on the timeout. You're on the timeout too. You guys have that one. You go on to win the map just pretty comfortably after that 13-6. There were some other good calls in there too. I remember like the finishing one was I think it was a drop one where you got into CT or something like that and just cut off all the rotations and everything. Yeah. And that was a game that it kind of showed like why 3D Max was exciting, because it was a G2 team that had, I'm pretty sure they had recently won, or they won Blast London around that time.
Yeah, won Blast London, yeah. They won Blast London just before, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you guys immediately go on to upset them in a high-pressure match on LAN. And that was one where it was just, they stole that strategy and started running it like right after that. I feel like once per T side nowadays, like G2 will just run that strategy, and I'm sure they just call it the strat that 3D Max fucked us on.
Yeah, I remember this one was really good, and I have to say it. I bring this strat to the team. Actually, I find this one, and I think I tell the guys like we can do something like this, because we were missing some good strategy on the B side on Dust 2, and I was like, okay, we can do a full execute with full flash, and we tried a lot, and and the first time we used it was in Pro League actually. So it was a new one. Nobody knows we have this one, and it was really good. And I think right now teams doing again they take our strat, and they did it even now. I think teams doing this strat. So yeah, we worked really good at that time. And the good thing when we put Gravity as in-game leader, the good thing, and that's why I think we did more playoff, it was we managed to beat better teams. Top 10 teams. Because with Maka, we were really good against equal opponent, or maybe like just behind us in the ranking. But when we were playing top 3, top 5, top 10, we never win, or it was not. It was just won 10 times. With Gravity, he's really comfortable about playing those guys. And I remember we speak about NAVI earlier. I never lose against NAVI. As a coach, I never lost against NAVI. And I think the first reason was because when we play NAVI, there is Inferno and Nuke all the time on the pool. And like you said, Thorin, when we play Inferno and Nuke, at that time, it was our home. So, and yeah, it was the best part of the 2025 at that time, when you feel confident, you know what you can do on your map pool, and people don't respect you. I mean, I remember it was Mongols, or maybe it was Navi. They pick Inferno against us, and I was like, what the fuck? Why they pick Inferno? We are the best team in the world on Inferno. And it was like, okay, so let's go Nuke. We have Inferno Nuke, and we have maybe 99% of chance to win at that time. And yeah, it was about the best.
Yeah. Okay, obviously, as of right now, we have got the BLAST Open Rotterdam underway, and I've got another poly market for you, because if we go on the props here, like we already did the winner one on a past one. I thought an interesting one here was who will qualify to the playoffs. Now, here's the thing, what we're going to do is, because as of the time of recording, well, tomorrow, some of these teams will qualify, obviously, like the top teams. So I thought what we'd do is, let's try and figure out, obviously, if you know the format, it's just like the old classic ESL ones, 3 teams from each group make it. Let's try and guess like some of the smaller ones, because everyone wants to know who the third team in each group, the lower bracket team that makes the run. So we'll skip the big ones, like we expect Vitality and NAVI, we had the discussion earlier. But if we go a bit further down, you have some of them, say, in the 40s and the 70s, right? Does anyone have, like, for example, do you think like Aurora will make it through? What about Paravision, or Mouse is down at 43%? Who would you have out of the non-super favourites, Who do you think is going to get through their group here? Who are you tipping? Or who do you think the number's good for? Which do you think?
I think Aurora going to the playoff. I think, yeah. I think this kind of teams, I don't know, Aurora is really... I don't know what to think about Aurora, because I think this is a good team. They have a really good firepower. They can beat everyone, and next to that, they can lose against anybody as well. So a bit of... They need consistency, and they can be good. But yeah, I think Aurora can do this. Yes. I think they will do this.
And if you look who's in the lower bracket, they already beat FaZe. They could play them. You could play Tyloo. Yeah. Or you could have a Beta and an RG. I think they'll beat all these teams. I'm with you. Anyone else, Maui? Who else are you looking at?
Yeah, I'm trying
what number do you like?
Bracket. Yeah, I'm seeing the bracket, and I'm just surprised that Mongols are as low as they are after they defeated Maus in the fashion that they did today. I mean, watching that one today was I would say that Maus just did not show up on Inferno there, but no, Mongols, I'd say, to their credit, look great on Nuke. It's weird I say that when Inferno was the game that they won more handily there, but I'm going to be real, I don't think Techno does as well as he does the next time on Inferno, which is kind of what propelled them in some of that. But I just think that's surprisingly low. That's my main take on it, is that Mongols is a bit low, and I've lost a lot of faith in Maus, so I wouldn't go for them even though they're higher percent. But I'm also a little surprised Liquid's that high. Like I don't. Where's that? Yeah. I don't have any idea where that one's coming from either. But
maybe just hype from outside of Malbs or something. Who knows, right?
I think Aurora's the safe one though, just because I think Aurora's safer because even if they won, they have a good chance to just beat Fury and then flat out qualify. Yeah. And 2, even if they're in the lower bracket versus probably a Decider versus a Falcons, maybe without Kyosuke or a Navi, there's a chance. There's a chance that they win one of those. So yeah, Aurora's a good one, and I'm just shocked that Mongols are that low. So maybe that's the value one.
Right, being as at the moment, Mouse is in bad state. Since they're only at 43%, still probably not a bad one you can take. Because at 43, you're going to get mad value out of it. I think that's not a terrible. And if you look at their bracket, they should still beat all these teams. Like, realistically, they're probably going to have to beat NertZ into like fucking Paravision into Liquid or Nip or something like if you look at the teams you're going to play there, I think you beat all those teams if you're Mouse. So I think Mouse is also safe on it, but a 43% very good value. Okay, the last point of the show is also going to be a topical one if you think of the most recent tournament, because you know what? Normally, I praise this player and I hate on his IGL, and I say he carries this team. But do you know what? I'm sorry. If we've done this to Nico, I'm going to do it to Turkish Nico. XANTARES is just a fucking choker in finals. Specifically in finals, this guy fucking blows. Like, normally he is like a hard carry. He carries the whole T side. He has those like super abusive, insane usage rate, but they're really good entry. And that's why I normally diss Magic, because I'm like, mate, your T sides aren't good anyway. And you have a guy who's basically like a guaranteed kill who just runs in and shoots people. That's not tactics. There's no like XANTARES go kill tactic. But bro, he sucks in finals. And I tell you what, I am actually sick of it too, because he also does that thing where he is like some 30-year-old boomer. He's just like looking at the screen all mad, like, and say, you're the one doing it. Look in the mirror, not the fucking monitor, mate. Because I'm so sick. I am sick of seeing his choke affair. Choke affair. Fucking hell, it's garbage. Like, I wanted to deny it because I used to think before, well, they're not even supposed to be in finals. And, you know, I have a rule I've told Maui, which is if you carry someone to a final, but then you shit the bed, I don't totally hate it, because like, you wouldn't even be there if you wouldn't have carried them there. You know, I do think there's times when Nico did do that, and then he was just the one that wasn't as good in the final. I've seen too many finals now. I don't know if people saw this. Someone even made like a comedy clip. Bro, did you know Eternal Fire, when they used to be called, even used to lose like ESL like challenger finals? Essentially any final they're in except that one against Legacy last year, they just lose them all except that PGL. Like, you could put this team against like my grandma in a final. If they go to a final, bloody hell, Granny's got game, shit, bloody hell, like, it's mental. So the sad thing is, I do think he's a mega player. Obviously it's cool that he's like 30 and he's still really skilled. He can still do all the shit he did in his prime, but there's something goes wrong with this guy in finals. I don't know what it is, and sadly it is actually a major reason why they can't win in Aurora. Because if you think about the final against NAVI, there were some close maps there. He bottom fragged the entire server for the series. Like, every NAVI player was better, Magic was better, everyone was. So, you know, what do you think about this angle? Like, I know it's harsh because he's a superstar, but you have to get the criticism if you're the big names, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm completely agree. For me, if you want to be remember, you have to be grand finals. That's for sure. It's about everything. It's how it works. Actually, it's not about CS. It's about everything in the life. If you're good, really good to go on the top, but on the top you are not good, everybody will miss you, and that's it. And you will be forget. So yeah, I'm completely agree. And I don't know why he's so bad on final. Maybe I don't know. I think it's on the mental side. Maybe probably it's so much tilted. The pressure, he cannot handle the pressure or something like this. I don't know. Something is missing to win to win tournament, but he's so good. Sad. Like, if he just better on finals, this is one of the best player on the scene, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, but maybe don't like best of 5 as well.
Because this is why, if no one's ever looked up, like I say, their record in finals specifically, they're going to think we're being unfair. Because remember what everyone used to say last year when he finally won that PGL? Like, wow, how did it take him this long to win an event MVP? Just go watch the fucking matches, bro. I'll tell you why. The call was coming from inside the house. He was sabotaging them. If you pull off the screen mask, it was him under there. He was the one stabbing them all. Maui, what do you think on this? And also enjoy your Twitter after this.
I've been a handful of the Aurora playoff chokes were unfortunately due to XANTARES' performances. I mean, I feel like even actually going back to the Copenhagen major where NAVI pulled off the huge win, was the first opponent was an Eternal Fire that I thought had a great chance to beat them. And if you go back and look, worst player for Aurora in that game was XANTARES. I mean, unfortunately, when he gets to a lot of big stage moments, he just doesn't play quite the same. And the problem is that he does play that well on lower stages. On, like, you know, if there's less pressure, he can still be a really, really good player. But yeah, I'd say that it wasn't. Unfortunately, for the story of XANTARES, it wasn't that in last year, in 2025, when EF/Eternal Fire or EF/Aurora were making it to all those playoffs, but then crashing out, a lot of those were actually due to the fact that first opponent up and XANTARES is just nowhere to be found. That's just something that it's really hard, because you kind of look at his career and you actually wonder, oh wow, why has he not been in so many playoffs to have accumulated that sort of experience? Because somebody like Rain, for example, I would take group stage XANTARES over group stage Rain. Oh, sure. But I know that Rain is not going to have a fall off, and he might even improve in a playoff environment. But XANTARES is nowhere to be found, and I think that comes with reps. But I think some people, it's just innately built like that. I feel like sometimes some guys they hit the scene and they just hit the ground running. That's why again I'm praising Mikaze, because everything is pointing towards big stages don't get to him. In fact, he literally has a better playoff rating with Navi than he does a regular group state. Like overall rating is worse. So I can rely on that. But then it hurts the mystique and the legend of XANTARES, which is like this is the best player to never win an event.
Yes.
Because thankfully he has won an event now. Yeah, and he even won the MVP at that one. But it was you kind of think that it's because the teams the teams that he has been on haven't really been close enough to winning those kinds of events. But in reality, yeah, it's like if you're 29, 30 and this is your first taste of LAN playoff experience, it's hard to change your mindset. You know, you kind of in my eyes are kind of the guy you are, and I don't really feel like you're gonna go through the same kind of thing. Whereas if a player is 18 or 19, I'm gonna let them lose their first couple LAN playoffs because I'm not really sure if they're adjusted to the pressure, and I'm sure it'll come with over time. But if you're already 30, what are you gonna suddenly unchoke yourself? Like it's really, really, really hard to have a drastic mentality shift.
Okay, that's all we have to say. If you want to coach, hit up YouKnow. You know where to find him on Twitter at YouKnow CSGO.